Okay, I think we'll get started. Hi, welcome. I'm Nina Kleinberg. I'm a member of the Northampton Neighbors Tech Team, and I'm delighted we have such a large audience this evening. Our mission at Northampton Neighbors is to help older adults in our community create and maintain connection, independence, dignity, and joy as we all age and engage in place. Northampton Neighbors is free of charge and open to all, offering a range of social and volunteer opportunities, as well as services and support for members 55 and over in Northampton, Florence, and Leeds. So now I want to introduce to you Chris Allard. Chris is currently an IT support and repair technician at Northampton Computer Repair, right there at the corner of Main Street and Strong Avenue. He's been an avid technologist ever since he learned about technology in the pre-internet age. Wow. He has worked daily for the last 14 years with customers just like you, who always ask a lot of the same questions about how to protect themselves online, privacy-wise and security-wise. And he wrote to me and he said, many customers I've worked with had to hear the possibility of having been scammed from me, i.e., Chris is the one who had to tell them, I think you've been scammed. He says, I'm just an IT guy, I'm not a social worker, so I don't necessarily know the best way to address them with that issue because so many of our strongest human emotions are tied up in the scams. And with that, take it away, Chris.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see everyone here. Looks like we have quite a few folks. I'm excited to kind of cover, well, I shouldn't say excited, but I'm happy to go over what we're planning on tonight. It's never good to have any of the things we're about to talk about going on in the world, but I think the best way to kind of prevent any of this kind of crime in the future, these scams, any kind of general just negative outcomes on the internet, is to talk about them so that everybody's aware. Mostly we're going to talk about some of the worst out there. And a lot of times just being able to spot it is the first step in arming yourself. So I'm going to just set up, I've got some slides to go over with everybody, and definitely I do want to answer as many questions as possible. I'm hoping that it's not going to be too technical of a presentation, but I think most of what we're discussing here is going to be more on the technicality of how the scam works than how it's actually carried out. So I don't want to get too bogged down in the technical details, but we will go over how each of these functions, basically. So generally speaking, I just want to go over this as a disclaimer too. This is just to go over what my knowledge of all of these scams is, and I've summarized them here. There's so many scams in the world that it's nearly impossible to go over everything. However, most of these are what you'll run into, and they're more or less in order of, I guess, popularity as far as the scammers like to pull them off. Generally speaking, I mean, some of you may have already encountered these. A lot of them are so common that, as far as reports go, anecdotally, we get 2-3 calls a week about some of these scams. One thing I like to remember as far as security on the internet goes, there's no product that you can purchase. It's not a product, it's a process. And unfortunately, a lot of people like to get kind of caught up in what's the best antivirus, what's the best. They hear about a VPN and they think this is great. I'm going to be perfectly secure, but the problem is there's too much that we have to do to be vigilant to really say there is one way to stop all of this. You can't just purchase a product and expect not to be in touch with a scam from that point on. The first thing that is absolutely, without a doubt, the most common, tech support scams, remote tech support scams, the kind of scam where somebody's posing as tech support from Microsoft, Apple, Norton, McAfee, PayPal, any other companies like that, large companies that don't usually have a published phone number. They love to publish a phone number for them. They get a lot of leads this way. What they'll usually start with is claiming that your device is infected. In fact, you might even get a pop-up saying that your device is infected and even give you a handy phone number to call. The general scam of this is they'll try to trick you before you realize it into giving them remote access to your computer, and a lot of times they'll just sell you services that you don't need. Most of the time, the virus alert wasn't legit in the first place. An example here would be one that gets you to click on something. This would be the idea behind this scam. It pretends to be McAfee's website and tries to get you to click on the next thing. It's basically just scaring you into action, and you may have no other option except closing out this window if you're technically inclined to know how to do that, or just click the proceed button, which might actually install malicious software at that point. Generally speaking, McAfee is not going to pop up with this sense of urgency. So just for what it's worth, you're probably going to get pop-ups from your antivirus if you have one. They're going to be not quite so urgent as this, and they're certainly not going to force you to install something new. They're already on your computer. And they're not going to, like Windows Defender and the next slide, they're not going to give you a phone number to call Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't want you to call them. They're not going to give you their phone number. It's nowhere. They don't even have a customer support phone number. So generally speaking, if you see anything like this ad with a phone number to call, it's absolutely not legit. And generally speaking, anytime you see a phone number anywhere, including emails or messages, it's not legit. None of these big companies are going to give you a customer support phone number. What oftentimes happens after somebody's connected to your system, and once they have access, they may see that it might be worth trying for something a little larger from the victim. They may actually try to do a fake refund scam. And usually they're in the same vein, posing as a large company. And then they'll say that they can actually transfer you to the refund department because you're owed a refund for a service that you didn't even think you purchased. A lot of these are just as common. So they'll start into doing a fake refund, pretending that you're going to get the refund that they're not actually charging you for to begin with. But then when they do the refund, they're going to actually input extra zeros at the end, pretending that you overpaid them. And then they tend to go to a bank account manipulation where they don't need your login information because they're on your computer already. They can see what you're seeing. So they'll have you sign into your account. There's no giving up of your password, so it lends authenticity. But they're actually going to manipulate the website on your computer specifically, just on your computer, to make it look like they actually did refund you $10,000 instead of $100. At that point, they're going to claim that they may have to get law enforcement involved, or that they have to that they have to transfer you to their supervisor and you have to pay back this money, and then it's all bets are off with the amount of shame that they'll throw your way trying to get you to refund the money. Basically, they're just playing on human emotions here. And, oh, hang on a second. I think I'm just getting a call.
Oh, wait a minute, Chris. I think I have to take a call, actually. Can we stop the screen share for a second?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes. Hello?
Hello, Cybercrime International. I mean, Tech Support Worldwide International. How can I help you?
Oh my God, yes. I got a message that I was infected with a virus and I don't know what to do. I think they might have my bank information.
Oh, that sounds serious. Can I ask you what were you doing when this happened?
I got an email and it said that that I had a virus and that I should click on something or call a number, and suddenly I'm on the phone with you and I don't know what to do.
Well, that's okay. We'll get through this and we'll get through it together. What we want to do first is just make sure that you're secure. So we want to get you connected to our secure server.
Oh, thank God. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. We'll step you through everything. Now, if you don't mind, first thing, are you on a PC or a Mac?
A what?
A PC or a Mac?
I'm on my laptop.
Okay.
I think it's a Lenovo. What is that?
Yeah. So we want to just Lenovo would be a PC. Okay. So do you know how to get to the internet? Do you want to open Google or Firefox?
Yeah, I can do that. Okay. Tell me what to do.
So we're going to go to Google. And then we're going to open up. We're just going to go up to the search bar.
Okay.
And we're going to type in AnyDesk.
AnyDesk. Okay. Yes.
.com.
Okay, I've done that.
And we're going to hit enter.
Okay.
Now, do you see a download button there?
Yes. What should I do? Should I click it?
Yes, that's gonna get you connected to our secure server so that we can work with you. And don't worry, this isn't gonna cost you anything.
Oh, thank goodness. I was so worried.
This is just something that we do for you, ma'am. By the way, how's the weather out there?
Oh, it's terrible. It's been raining and just awful. Okay. Okay. Now what do I do?
So, do you see a number up on your screen?
Yes.
Can you read that number off to me?
413-646-694.
Oh, that's great.
Is that right? Did I do that right?
Yes, ma'am. I see your screen, and I can tell you that you're now secured. We have all of the IP addresses in your area now completely safe. So I think the first thing we want to do is just run a quick virus scan. So we're going to just make sure that your system is fully clean here and that there's no problems at all.
Oh, I'm so glad I've got you on the line here. I would have no idea how to do this.
Oh,
Thank
absolutely.
You.
Well, this is
so
what
much.
we do. We're just happy to be here serving you. Now, have you ever had to call Microsoft before?
No. Why would I call Microsoft?
Consider yourself thankful. That's very good. We only get the worst infections of any kind. So, do you see what I'm seeing on screen here?
I see a lot of windows and then black and stuff going by, and I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'm so grateful to you for helping me. Except I think you're a scammer.
No, ma'am. No, no, no,
No,
no.
I
We're
do.
absolutely just
I
trying to
think
help
you're
you.
a scammer, and I'm gonna hang up now unless you tell me not to.
And this is exactly what happens. That took about 2.5 minutes, and we were already on somebody's computer. Now, granted, some technicalities may get in the way, but just as an example, that was how quickly your computer can be compromised. Generally speaking, you never want to even visit a site that anybody on the phone gives you a contact for. Or, especially one that you found. If somebody cold calls you trying to get onto your computer as well, that's always your initial thought. If you've called somebody, we do this all the time for customers. Remote support is legitimate, and this is where the problem is. Your antivirus won't stop this. It's strictly an action that you have to remember not to take. It's a process, not a product. Just moving on, part of that scam that we just illustrated was that was essentially the script that they'll use as well. Almost all remote support scams start with something like a fake scan of some kind that then just looks legitimate. It looked really nerdy, I was running some kind of scan, but I wasn't. I was just running a list of every file on your computer, waiting for that to finish until I typed in the words "virus is found." There was nothing technical about it, but it looked technical enough to fool a lot of folks. The next part that I referred to about the fake refund scams, that's actually where they might see, they'll actually ask you to see if you've had any unexpected activity, and that's where they'll roll with the fake refund scam as well. There's a lot of angles that these guys use, and any angle that might seem new, if it starts with them connecting to your computer, make sure that doesn't happen. The worst part is, not knowing what they might have been able to do on the computer in even the 15 minutes that they were connected. Bear with me a second here. So another really, really common scheme, and generally speaking, I'm sure everybody here has gotten at least 3 of these today, possibly either via text message or via email. But these fraudulent emails or texts that look like they're from legit companies. They're trying to some may have phone numbers for you to try calling. Definitely, you see a phone number, it's not legit. Some may actually have links or attachments that they're trying to get you to open. Generally speaking, if you don't know the sender, definitely don't use it. One of the more common ones is anything from your bank that kind of looks like it's not really from your bank. Poor language, poor grammar, misspellings of words. Look for all of these triggers. Look for all of these clues. Generally speaking, it's better just to not respond or not click on anything than to do something about it with some of these, especially if there's any question. I wanted to take a minute here just to go through. I'll switch screens again. I really want to recommend that everybody watching visit this website. It's a great, simple 10-question quiz. Google actually put this together with another company that We're going to do a couple of these to show you some examples of how to detect some phishing. Because this is so prominent, it's essential to know this. And I don't want to go through the whole quiz, it's a little dry, but definitely try this out. We'll include this in the chat. I'll send that over. Just a second. So if you did want to follow along, the link should be in the chat right now. And then I'm just going to switch over. We must have Comcast. If you're not able to do this whole thing right now, definitely save that link, or just come back to the video and take a look at this quiz as soon as you can, because it's really useful. It's a little bit Google centric, of course, because it was developed by Google, but really is useful. So first we're just gonna, you don't actually have to enter your name here. It's just to lend authenticity to the phishing. Oops. So first example, it basically just wants you to click, is this phishing or not? And it gives you access to every single thing that you would get in a real email. I mean, this looks like it's from somebody at Gmail, another Gmail user who sent this to me. So I'm going to go through and just click on the little bit of information in the header. And yeah, that's really, to me, that's not to a mailing list. That's not anything really fishy yet. There's a link to the actual document. Should I click on that? If you notice down where it has open and on the link to the document, when you hover over it, you can actually see the link that it's about to open up in the bottom left corner of the screen. And on this one, it's drive-google.com, which, I don't know, something about that seems a little fishy. I would say if we were trying to go to Google Drive, I would try Googling Google Drive. Let's try that now. I bet it's not going to bring me to drive-google.com, and indeed it doesn't. It brings us to workspace.google.com. So using Google as a tool, or any search engine, it can be any, try searching for the link in the domain that this starts with, drive-google, and see if it comes up, or look for the service with just your search terms. It'll lend some credence to whether or not this is legit. We're going to say this looks like phishing, and here's why. It's going to point out drive-google.com is not legit, and absolutely, I'm glad I didn't click on this. Another thing you all probably have maybe 10, 12 of in your emails right now is a sweepstakes win. It looks like I just won a new blender and juicer from Coca-Cola, I guess. Well, something about that seems a bit weird, but I mean, they're in the beverage business. So, I wonder if I should click this. I think It's supposed to be from Coca-Cola, right? This looks like it's from opmaviggeorgefeist.com. That doesn't seem legit. It is to me. It's not to a mailing list, but I don't know. Everywhere I hover, I have a link. So no matter what you do here, you're going to go to this link, no matter where you click, including the unsubscribe. So everywhere you move around, you've got this link showing up at the bottom. This is a way that a lot of scams get around detection. They're not actually going to put any words in the email. It's just a big giant image, and it's all going to go to one location. So who knows? This may have been pretty benign. It may have gone to something more malicious. But generally speaking, you get anything like this, it's not legit. And they're going to explain this appears to be from Coca-Cola, but it's certainly not. Everything is in the image. That may be legit and sometimes, but that is definitely to get around spam filters. This is also going to go to a bunch of different places before it actually lands you on whatever scam they're trying to run. Here's one. We already talked about this. It looks like I have an invoice. What? I didn't order anything for $600. Oh, but PayPal's phone number is right there in the message. There's my red flag. PayPal doesn't have an easy to access phone number, and I don't think I should call that. PayPal wants you to contact them anyway except calling them. The only way most places that are larger companies will offer a phone number is them calling you through the chat support or through a website support. So just to be aware, that's a few examples, and it goes on for 10 questions. We know that one was phishing because there was a phone number, and they're just trying to get you to give up some information, possibly scam you. Definitely, there's a phone number. Don't fall for it. Oops, just bear with me another second here. All right. So, another serious threat today, even though it's much less severe than it used to be, ransomware attacks. And they're spread through the same kind of things we've already talked about: emails, and malicious links that may be sent to you from somebody pretending to be your friend or having hijacked your friend's account. Generally speaking, a product will help you here. It's certainly worth not knowing or not clicking on that link if it's suspicious at all, but antiviruses will catch this 90% of the time. So having a good antivirus here is really the best thing for it. Another really common scam, and this is a long haul scam. This is the kind that starts with just an innocent communication, maybe a text message, or somebody at Jennifer Lawrence's friend page just contacted me. I can't believe it. And they actually want to get to know me. That's a little bit outlandish that somebody would pay that much attention to me. But it's pretty common. And it's pretty common that people encounter these fake online profiles or just get contacted with a random text message. And then that text message is, what kind of human being are you? And it'll follow up with a whole slew of messages back and forth about, oh, it's nice you're in New York City. I'm over here in LA. Next thing you know, you've gone on a conversation for 20 minutes with the person, and you've actually started to build trust. At that point, they start to have problems that they need money for. just $100, $200. These are the most damaging scams I think out there because they involve the long-term manipulation of emotions, every type of manipulation. Most of the time they're text-based because it's hard to pull these off with in-person phone calls or voice calls, but they absolutely happen that way. In fact, a lot of times it's more than one person trying to pull off a romance scam because the long-term profit, even if it's just chunks of money asked for here and there, it's worth it. So they'll get multiple people involved, and sometimes it's criminal organizations entirely that do this. Just anytime you get that accidental text from somebody who's, just make sure that doesn't turn into anything. Definitely random text from celebrity pages as well, or dating sites. Just be wary anytime somebody is communicating with you out of the blue. As sad as it is, we have to be that way. This is one that I actually encountered pretty recently myself, online shopping and auction scams. They're incredibly prevalent, especially with the cheapness of social media advertising. If anybody is on social media, email has always been cheap to send out a bunch of these scams. But social media has become the new way of keeping these going. Ads for products that seem almost too good to be true, like a free version of this product if you just pay the shipping. I encountered one of these recently for a product, and I wanted to test it out. I actually ordered a musical instrument. I ordered a musical instrument, in air quotes there. It was actually by the time I got to the checkout page, there was no way to actually opt out of the vitamin supplements that they were going to be sending me every month. That would have only cost me $99 a month, but I certainly didn't want them. So I used a temporary credit card that only had a dollar limit on it. I put it through since the dollar was going to be for shipping. I said, let's try this out. Turns out they tried capturing $200 within 5 minutes of the shipping checkout. Then they tried another 3 times to get another $250 each whack. So I wasn't going to get anything out of that. That musical instrument was not coming to me. And fortunately, I was able to get the dollar charge reversed, but a service like that where you can make a temporary credit card number is really the only way to be kind of wary of this. I mean, these are enticing, and they know that. The next 2 types of scams are, this one has a horrible name, but it's another similar to romance scam that happens where you build trust over time, and these can be long games as well, sometimes years. There's plenty of examples of these types of long-term scams going on for years in some cases. This one is similar to a romance scam where they build trust for more likely an investment opportunity. Involving crypto especially is very common. Usually these are initiated through social media accounts that are faked as well. Usually they're inviting you to invest in something or like a cryptocurrency or joining a trading platform because there's great ways to make money. After they've actually collected lots of money from these, they'll even make fake cryptocurrencies. They'll build whole websites to fake actually being the next Bitcoin, just so that they can collect a ton of money in the short term. These are particularly malicious, and anytime you encounter this, it's also worth noting too that a lot of times there's a layer of it may not be just a single scammer on the other end of this. And as much as you want to hate them, they may actually be a victim as well, which makes the complexity a little bit more serious. A lot of times, people who are promised safe passage to another country will actually find themselves being one of these people running the scam in a giant call center where they're essentially a slave. So it's a horrible world in some ways that this exists, but in some ways, as long as we can try to be not a victim of this, it will keep the system from being perpetrated, in my opinion. Very similar, again, this is really specific to cryptocurrency. These are going to be emails that you get just with emails, messages on social media, etc. That this unbelievable deal. Elon Musk is like one of the most regularly imitated and faked people on any social media platform. And would you believe he has like 13 different cryptocurrencies that he runs and he tells everybody to invest in? He doesn't really. It's simply somebody pretending to be Elon Musk. It's somebody pretending to be another CEO of another company. These are almost always crypto comes on, red flags go up. Not that you can't invest in crypto, but there's plenty of legitimate places to do that, and somebody just randomly messaging you is not the place. A couple of these are a little bit less prominent, where we've got fake notifications about the lottery or the prize, like the blender from Coca-Cola. A lot of times they'll actually fake documents once you've contacted them about this prize that you've won to appear convincing, including like official government documents made to look like copies and scans. Again, anything that seems too good to be true, just really be wary, including just a random prize, even if it seems small. Never give out your information until you've verified the legitimacy of the company contacting you. So generally speaking, as we go through how to protect yourself, I'm hoping we'll have some questions here. Just always verify unexpected messages, unexpected emails, and calls. If they're not a message or a call or email that you're expecting, definitely always be wary. When I say verify, I mean in some cases it's fine to email somebody back just to clarify that it seems like them. That's better than clicking the email. If it comes back that it's not an actual email, then there's your answer. It's not great to answer those emails, but as a last resort, if you can't tell it's an email that's faked, yeah, I mean, if that's your only option, it's better than clicking on the link. Definitely unverified sources. I wouldn't share personal or financial information with anybody. And when I say unverified, I mean, it's hard to even do that on the phone and talk to a bank, because scammers will pretend to be your bank. Excuse me. But again, if you're at any point wary of the call you're on, just hang up and call your bank's actual number. Especially if they initiated the call, it's probably not them. Don't trust the transfer. All of these investment opportunities you might be getting alerted to, they're probably not legitimate. I mean, investment is hard. It's a whole different thing. There's no get-rich-quick schemes. So I think a lot of folks are knowledgeable of that, and just keep that knowledge as far as the cyber world enticing as cryptocurrency might be to make millions of dollars, it's almost always a scam, as sad as it is. Generally speaking, too, always use strong passwords. I know everybody hates when I talk about this, and everybody hates passwords. They're easy to hate, but always make sure they're as strong as possible. They don't have to be complex. You don't have to make up something you'll never remember. Just make them as long as possible and add a touch of complexity, a couple of extra characters. 4 words strung together and a couple of extra characters is something that you can remember with 4 different words is going to be better when you're talking about complexity, well, not complexity, but length and entropy than anything that you would come up with that's going to be a bunch of random characters but only 12 long. If somebody's guessing at your password and they're running a computer program to do that, it's going to take them literally billions of years longer to guess a 20 character password than it would to guess a 12 character password. But you'll never remember that 12 character password with a 0 and an exclamation point and an asterisk and 7 different letters. So it doesn't have to be complex, just long. And anywhere you can, enable 2-factor authentication. That's the thing most big sites are probably prompting you for already. To set this up where you get a text message when you're signing in and you've entered your password. It's extra hassle, but it means that somebody can easily get into your account without having that thing that you have. They might know that thing that you know, your password, because data breaches happen and those get exposed. But they're definitely not going to have that thing you have, which is your phone, or that app on your phone. So always turn that on when there's an option to. And generally speaking, don't let anybody use your identity for a scam. Most of the time this comes from compromised emails because of the first 2 things I mentioned. Poor password hygiene, too short, too many times reused, and not having 2-factor authentication on. Once somebody has an email account that is a cyber criminal trying to run one of these scams, they're now using your identity to do that. And that, generally speaking, passwords and 2-factor authentication should stop that for all the rest of us. So, I didn't actually have any extra scams added on here other than just business. Anybody still running a business, anybody operating a business regularly, these are pretty common. I think at our business we got about 4 a day, and more or less they're trying to make these massive orders for products that we don't even sell, and they're from spoofed email addresses. They look legitimate. These are big universities that are claiming to contact us. I'm not entirely sure how they pull this off, but anybody keeping an eye on their order email at work, this is probably too good to be true as well. I've got a big order for something coming in. Just again, try to call the actual place that they're purporting to be, and that should take care of it. And do your own research on the call. Don't go with a phone number in the email. Look that place up and try to reach that person. So I think I'd love to get some questions, see if anybody's actually contacted us here.
Yes, there's some questions in the chat, and then we also have one raised hand. So the first question in the chat, let's take a look, is someone asked, is Avast a good antivirus? And I would just say in general, what antivirus do you recommend?
Yep. It's a tough question because almost all of them are going to give you a good modicum of protection for what we talked about here with ransomware, and a lot of these links might not even work properly if we've got a good antivirus that's doing its job. A lot of them will even stop some of the more malicious links. Avast is perfectly fine. Uh, it's how much do you want to I found it to be a little spammy and pop-uppy because it's a free antivirus and they do have paid versions, but they always have some other thing they want to sell. And because of that, I think it's less enticing to me. Uh, Generally speaking, just on an objective scale, some of the best antiviruses out there are Bitdefender is constantly top of the list for comparatives. There's one named F-Secure, which is also very good at protecting you. There's, uh, geez, blanking. WebRoot was a pretty well-rated one, but I think it lacks a lot of features. Generally speaking, there's enough sites out there that compare these. I would just take a look at those. I can never say, is there one better than another? But I do like Bitdefender a lot. It's got a lot of great features.
We have another question. Does clicking on unsubscribe trigger a scam?
In that example we looked at with the Coca-Cola email, it would certainly bring you to that link. So just as an example of always check the link by hovering over it, do that as well as far as the unsubscribe links. If you notice that the link above that in the email doesn't go anywhere different than the link to the unsubscribe link, definitely don't click that. And this is where this is a process because there might be a way to trick people in the future around that, you know. But right now we know that at least the links are going to be unique for the thing above it and the thing on unsubscribe. So if you hover over that link, just make sure it's not the same thing.
Okay. Sophie has raised her hand, so I'm going to unmute her. And Sophie, if you would like to ask your question. Hi, Sophie. Nice
Hi,
to see you. Go
Hi, Sophie.
ahead.
thank you so much, Chris. This is so informative and useful. I have two questions since
Yeah.
you just answered the one about virus protection. I have a Mac and I understand I don't need a an additional thing. But the
Yep.
other question that it relates to one that I got a week ago from the Attorney General of Texas saying that my Social Security card had been threatened, whatever you call it, compromised.
Mm,
And it was so legitimate with all of the right Social Security and state of Texas cards. And I did not answer it. I kept trying to forward the message to people and say, is this legitimate?
yep.
And I then finally deleted it but it might be that my identity has been compromised. And it
Yeah.
have a telephone number to call.
It it did have a telephone number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be, you know, it's tricky with government agencies because they do want to make their phone numbers pretty accessible, but I still there's a way to get around that by calling that department directly after Googling the contact info for that department. And even then, I know that's really tricky because a lot of folks try to find a contact number for bigger companies too, like PayPal or Microsoft, that they may have been given a phone number to, and they say, "All right, let me Google that and try to find the phone number to them." They might get a phone number, but it's probably not legit either because scammers literally try to get up in the search rankings with their scam phone numbers. So, I mean, unfortunately, it is a process, but I
Yeah.
think there's a way to reach a government agency that could be easily found outside of that, and I would try that just on that example.
Okay. Thank you. And
Sophie, you had
my,
another question about how do you get a $1 credit card? Was
Yeah.
that
yes,
you
I
who?
did. Yeah, how I want to get a $1 a $1 credit card, and I also want to know if my Mac Air is pretty secure.
Yeah. Macs definitely get viruses, and in fact, I want to say maybe 40% of the ones we work on in the shop have some form of malicious software on them. I mean, it's a very high number. Most of the time, it's rather benign, so I would say an antivirus is still a really good idea. You don't have one on a Mac. PCs have the fortunate situation of having Windows Defender built in to block a lot of malicious links and software. Macs don't have that. I think Apple still thinks they're impervious. And a lot of things may not run the same way on a Mac because it's a different system. So a lot of viruses that are designed for Windows won't run. But there's enough Mac malware out there and there's enough infections out there that it's still an incredibly good idea for a Mac.
Okay,
Uh,
thank
the
you so much.
the
Okay, we have another person whose hand is raised, and that is Elaine Parmit. So Elaine, I'm going to unmute you, and you can ask your question.
Well, it really isn't a question. I want to point out that I thought I was so good at avoiding scams until the other day. I was signing up, and I just want to share it for the Northampton Neighbors members. I was signing up for AARP to renew my membership, and it was very straightforward, and it was the right site because I went directly to AARP. But then all of a sudden there was a link and it said it was AAA. And again, it looked like the right logo of AAA. And they said that for a handling fee only, $9.99, get this emergency kit to have in your car. So it seemed like it came from the link and it had all the right logos. I don't know why. I just let go of my suspicious nature and I gave them my credit card number, and it said it would be sending me an email right away. Well, within 5 minutes, nothing came, nothing came. I said, I have been had, and I was so annoyed at myself. I felt like I won the stupid award for the day. So I called AARP, I called AAA, and I called my credit card people, Capital One, and they all said no, this is not legit. And so fortunately, Capital One stood behind me and deleted the call and immediately closed down my credit card and had to send me a new one, which I got yesterday. But it caused a lot of frustration. I already had the number credit card in the system. So it means for anybody that's on an automatic payment, I had to go back in and put in my new credit card. So I just think it's important, the most benign stuff that looks like, and I think also, our generation, it looks like the real deal. It came from AARP link, came from AAA. It looked like anything I had signed on to AAA in the past, but it was all a scam.
That sounds pretty awful. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's lending authenticity to something by using the name of a larger company or organization that you do know. Yeah.
Especially
It's
with the logos that I guess they can duplicate those logos with no problem.
I could duplicate it on my own website in probably 2 minutes or so, just having my own website updated with a legitimate logo. It's unfortunately very easy. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, there's another question that I want to put up, and that's from KL. It says, getting an identity theft letter from big companies like Bay State Health or Commerce Insurance, does that lead to likely more fake phone calls from Medicare representative with a foreign accent?
Um, Yeah, I don't. Uh, I want to say yes here, just because I'm not entirely sure how these idiots, let's call them, uh, get phone numbers and leads. I think they do get them from data breaches because it would make a sensible, just buy some contact lists for people that aren't clearly already on a calling list. So I do think that, like any data breach notification that you get, assume that whatever information was in that data breach is out there and probably on a bad guy's list, so to speak. Unfortunately, I think it does, just the amount of information that's already exposed from so many data breaches out there. I think it does mean that these lists get handed around, so to speak, on the less than legitimate sites.
Okay, are there any more questions, comments, people who want to share their stories? We do have a recorded, a woman who wanted to come to this meeting but couldn't, but she recorded quite an alarming scam that she almost fell for that would have cost her tens of thousands of dollars. And I'd like to play, I recorded that video. We'll do that, and then while you're watching that, type any more questions you might have into the chat. Okay, unless there's someone else. I don't see any other raised hands right now, so let me see if I can play that video because it's quite an impressive scam that she was involved with. So let's play that.
So, like everyone or most people, I've been through a lot of scamming training and phishing and all the other words that they have. But none of the things that they warned me about actually came through on this one in the sense of poor grammar and blah, blah, blah. This was extremely well done, and it would have been a lot of money, and it would have been life-changing for me. It was when I was buying my house, and shortly before the closing, I received an email that for all the world looked like it was from my lawyer. He had a particular font that he used, particular colors that he used, and this was exactly his email, his tone, his language, everything. And the timing was right. It was, I don't remember, within a week of the closing. And he sent me an email saying, if I was all ready, I should shoot him an email and he'd give me the information for wiring the money for the house I was about to purchase. And the only reason I didn't fall for it is because when I started this whole process of buying a house, first time doing it by myself, I started the whole process. My financial advisor had said to me, to be extra safe, don't ever exchange wiring information by email. Always, and don't even do it by phone. Do it on Zoom so you have a face and get the information, because there are scams in the world. And so I had told that to my lawyer early on. I'd said, when we do the wire information, I want to do it face to face. He said, yeah, that's smart. And so that's the only reason when I got the email from him, but I still thought it was from him. I didn't think it wasn't from him. I thought, that's weird. Didn't we agree we were going to do it face to face? So I wrote to him and I said, why did you ask me? I think I replied to that email, actually, which was not his address. But then I also, I think, called him because something about it just concerned me. And I said, I don't know why you're saying that to me. And he said, send me the email. And then he replied and said, I never sent that email. And then we looked very closely at the email, which I'm happy to show you if you want. So there you go. I don't know. Can you see the whole letter?
We can see it. It says D. Reynolds at the New Law F Center.
So the S is the only thing that's not right. And the Rob Goggins, who's a wonderful realtor, can't say enough good about him, I think his email was rob at Maple and Main Realty, so they just did rob.mapleandmainrealty@gmail.com. This is exactly Doug's font. He would say something like, "Good morning, Patricia." And that's exactly all this, the contact, the mail, and the circular 230, whatever is exactly. And I think the only thing they did was change the phone by 1 digit or something like that. Very, very close. I definitely could have fallen for it. My best guess, but I have no way of proving it, is that they were hacking the real estate agent, because at the very beginning there were some three-way emails between the lawyer and the real estate agent, and that gave them enough to have my lawyer's font and tone and both of their email addresses and the closing date, and then they just waited and waited because it took a while. So that's what happened. It would have completely reshaped my entire life, and I would not be living in a house right now.
So that is from a member named Patricia Meyerson, and she gave me permission to share that with the audience tonight. And she said that if you're ever asked to wire money that is completely unretrievable, it's not like a false credit card claim where they'll make you good. If you wire money, you cannot get it back. And she wanted to emphasize that. She also wanted to emphasize that her lawyer and her real estate agent, she has nothing but good things to say about them. And she wanted me to clarify that. I will add one other story. I know of a gentleman who got a call from someone saying they were a lawyer representing his grandson who had been arrested after a traffic accident, and he needed money to bail him out. And this man I know ended up handing $8,000 in cash to a complete stranger who had been sent to his house to collect the bail money for the supposed grandson. And the only reason it didn't go any further was that he went back to the bank. They were asking for more money, and the bank literally didn't have enough cash. And I think they also recognized that something was not right. Okay, we have another raised hand. Let's see. That's going to be Sophie. Go ahead.
I'm sorry I'm taking up so much space, but this is so fascinating. The other day, I was invited to join a Substack podcast that, and then they wanted me to subscribe at $8 a month or yearly. And I decided to subscribe because I know the woman for $8 a month. And immediately my credit card popped up. I didn't give my credit card to her. So I wanted to ask about credit cards circulating on the email. I'm really concerned that they knew my credit card and put the $8 on it, and I never put in any figures, I didn't have to put it in.
Yeah. So you mean your card was charged before you entered the credit card information just at that right time?
I clicked on the subscribe, $8 a month, intending to subscribe for 1 month. And it went through with my credit card. And I asked her about it afterwards. How did you know my credit card? And she said, oh, I have no idea. I guess that's just automatic.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly odd. I wouldn't necessarily suspect. I would think there's more a technological explanation for that, like perhaps a linked account system of some kind, like political donations. A lot of times there's a single organization that might be handling the campaign donations for so many.
It could easily be it. It was a political.
Okay.
So it could be linked to Act Now or.
Yeah, there's a lot of payment processors for a single donor or a single campaign, but they're spread out across every campaign.
And I
that I
still
could
want to know
explain.
where to get a $1 credit card.
Yeah, I sent the link back. It's just for everybody else that might be interested. It's a service called privacy.com. Pretty simple to remember, but they allow you to create temporary credit cards, and they don't have a they do have a paid premium plan, but you can sign up at no cost, and it's incredible for those iffy times where you really want to try to see if there's something sketchy about this thing. You can set up I just want to do a $3 credit card limit and actually give them whatever service or site you're trying to sign up for, actually give them a $3 limit. It'll charge, it'll go through, but the next one won't. So it's great for setting up free trials too, because if you don't actually want to pay that first month, but you forget to unsubscribe, it can come in handy.
We have a question from Gary Drimmer. He says, is there a way to block calls and texts that works? The government do not call, does not block calls. Why can Europe protect their phones from scam calls while the US doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. I think the free enterprise of the US is probably blocking or getting in the way of that somehow. But the other thing is the robocalling technology. There's a way to technically block that our phone companies have not done yet, and haven't implemented anything to block a clearly defined robocall or automatically dialed phone number or phone call. I think Europe's taking steps towards that. I don't exactly know what you're referring to for Europe, but I did hear recently about the changes that they were making to stop these things. And absolutely, I think the U.S. could do more, technologically speaking, to stop them. I don't know of a way other than the do not call registry, which is completely ignored by robots, and they're just guessing at phone numbers, and that's how so many people get contacted through a robocall. Definitely sign up for it. It can't hurt. It will stop most of the other kind of fishy phone calls and random contacts. But unfortunately, we're left up to specific apps for the phone that can block calls better than the actual communications companies who don't want to block calls. They want as many calls as possible. However, it is worth looking at your phone company or your cell phone provider to see if they do offer an app. Almost all of them do, that can try to filter out a lot of those calls. Most of them don't charge extra for it. It's part of your subscription. Verizon and AT&T both have one. And just see if you can set one of those up for call filtering. It will help minimize those.
One last question from KL. Do you offer a senior discount? I think she's probably referring to your business.
Oh,
I don't know what, I think that's what she's talking about.
how about this? The presentation's free. No, well, we don't particularly, but we do try to be reasonable in what we do. I mean, so much of what we do is kind of advice, and we're okay being here for that. The 5 minutes here and there. Yeah, but I appreciate you asking.
Okay, well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. This has been wonderful. And everyone's muted, but a fair number of people are waving their hands, saying thank you. This was great, and thank you so much for all you do for all of the seniors.
Oh,
Thanks for coming, folks.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Bye.